we are live now.
Right. Okay.
You good to start?
Mm.
All right. So, in the grand traditions of Indian cinema, uh, the hero is always accompanied first with a song. So, I want to start with a song.
You're going to sing?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, great.
because you're the hero, right?
Oh, you hero intro song. Okay.
Yeah, right. Grand tradition, right? So, I have to follow the classical structure here.
Okay.
ஏரிக்கரை பூங்காத்தே நீ போன வழி தென்கிழக்கோ தென்கிழக்கு வாசமல்லி என்ன தேடி வர தூது சொல்லு ஏரிக்கரை பூங்காத்தே. The reason why I'm singing this song is uh, it perfectly embodies this spirit of what we are trying to do in this dialogue, which is zen of music and words. uh, Fundamentally, as somebody who aspires to create some kind of art, the fundamental benchmark I have is any art that you witness should want you to recreate that art, in a different form.
Right.
And that way, ever since I read your write-up you did when your interview with Gautam Menon about the duet between a flute and the voice,
Right. Right.
it almost changed the way I experienced that song.
Well, it
So
is. The song is a duet between the flute and the voice.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So in a way, it really embodies the joy of how writing can really enhance the art of the music, and vice versa.
Right. Not necessarily writing, but
I mean, in terms of
appreciating.
the way you
Appreciation. Yeah.
appreciating, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of when I say words, when I say the zen of music and words, to
Right.
me, this song really embodies, the joy I had when I first read it, and then when I again listened back, and
Right.
just before
Because
this, yeah,
yeah, because even when the stanzas come on, Padavari Nogamune and all, again, every time there's the flute followed by
yeah.
Yesudas, flute followed by Yesudas, sorry, Yesudas flute, Yesudas flute, Yesudas flute. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had actually mentioned also this in terms of how it's almost like the instrument is going parallel with the track in
Right,
your earlier, yeah.
right,
So in a way that sort of embodies for us, in terms of how appreciating one song can help us appreciate the song in deeper ways, and help you also sing. So every time when I sing the song oftentimes to my son as a lullaby, and somewhere, and just can't enjoy savor it. And even when I listen it, when I sing it, the joy of the song, and the writing that you wrote, where you almost like, put it like you're talking to me, perhaps. Why do you ask? And all the
right.
way you wrote it.
Yeah, but that's also the interpretative part of it, right?
Yeah,
Because
of course.
you're kind of uh, and I think that's the beauty of all art, and I think art is diminished when you try to box it into a creator's view, because I think a creator tries to do something and put it out into the world and says, okay boys, I've had my fun with this, now you guys, take this and enjoy it.
Mm.
And that enjoyment, if it is perfectly aligned with the creator spirit, I feel is like an act of murder, because you're basically saying, you give me a set of notes from which I should enjoy this, using which I should enjoy this thing, and then nothing more. That's just like killing the song or the movie or the play or the painting or whatever it is, because you're not letting it live. And the only way art lives is in other people's realities and imaginations, is my theory. So
Yeah. I mean, the
yeah,
same we experience when we hear Alex, for instance, when he talks about, say, Ullathil Nalla Ullam,
yeah,
or
yeah.
in his musical stand-up, it almost brings, and that's the zen, of music, and and you could call it words, or you could call it appreciation in all forms, where they sort of have this very beautiful way of, they make the song even more powerful, while the appreciation also, enhances both in themselves and the song.
Right, and that is of course a much more unified zen of words and music, the that era, because uh, you know, music was used to carry the words along, and the words kind of fit in so well. And with people as great as Kannadasan, he had this intense ear for not just the musicality of the word, but also the meaning. And you cannot separate, uh, I don't know, take an Angel or Alayam song from the words that the song contains. You know, you're humming it would almost seem like redundant, because that you feel that they're both so tightly locked together that of course in later era the music became more prominent, and the words started declining in quality. Generically speaking, not. Of course, you will always find in every era some, you know, examples that kind of you know, prove that that's not the case. But the importance given to words in that time was something else. And I think also because music was created much more organically with everybody together, and it wasn't like you know, it wasn't like a, like, let's see, get the hit tune first and then let's see you know, what words will fit it. That wasn't happening then. And I think that's why, at least to someone like me, those songs remain evergreen, because technically speaking, I wasn't even born when those songs were released. But I also grew had the great fortune, which I think is really really instrumental in why I'm sitting before you, or at least why you perceive me as the supposed nice appreciator of art, because I had the great fortune of growing up with the mix of all these things. It wasn't just that I went to the internet and listened to only what I wanted to listen to, or the artists that I wanted to listen to. By default, I heard what was on the radio, and everything would play on the radio. Ilayaraja would play on the radio, MSC would play on the radio, KV Mahadevan would play on the radio. So it was like, because somebody else was curating all these things for me, on TV too, movies. I think that mix that happened then, it's very hard to, because without my wanting it, that mix became a part of my bloodstream. That ability to appreciate this vast bandwidth of music. Sorry, that's a mistake. Well, what I mean is, the possibility of listening to this vast bandwidth of music became there. And of course, because I'm naturally inclined towards music and movies, the ability to appreciate it also deepened, because I was exposed to all this music, and there were people always sitting by and singing, oh look how this is happening, oh look how that is happening, oh look how this phrase is tuned here, and oh look this is happening there. So I think all that kind of you know, added to this thing. And I think one of the things that I look forward to here, and one of the things that I really regret about, is that I haven't written as much about music, simply because of two things. One is, it's really difficult to write about music beyond a certain point. It's much better explained orally. You know, it's very difficult to write about music. It's and it kind of it's not that people don't write well about music. It's just that beyond a certain point, the beauty of it cannot be explained unless you hum something, or say something, or the saying something like it rises from C to a D, or that kind of it doesn't quite, you know, capture that.
And that's a performative acts probably make it easier, you know.
Make it easier. Yeah. Whereas at the movie, it's a little easier, because you know, you're kind of, you don't, you know, even if you're not doing this and showing like a frame, you can still explain that somebody moves from the left of the frame to the right of the frame, and you know, that kind of stuff. Music is, I think there's a lovely quote, it says writing about music is like dancing about architecture. It's a fantastic quote. I don't know who said that, but yeah, it's like trying to write about music is like, it's futile effort. It's like dancing about architecture.
No, and I guess somewhere the way how much one embodies music also, you know, carries that in a certain sense, you know. Like, for, I mean, at least you know, as someone who grew up in Mylapore and who grew up in a kind of very musical family, and I've always sensed that, you know, it's the music that it has to go in your bones, you know. And,
yeah, I don't think there is. See, I really very firmly believe in one thing, which is that the ability to appreciate whether it is anything, sports, art, you know, that the ability to cook with just your eyes closed, and just know how much of a pinch of this to add and a pinch of that to add, and if you don't have something, you can do something else. That is a form of manodharma.
Mm.
You're
Mm.
doing manodharma in the kitchen. You're
Mm.
kind of taking a basic recipe and elaborating on it.
Mm. Mm.
That is not that is or I really believe that that is you're born with it. You
Mm.
can maybe hone it, but you cannot acquire it.
Mm.
I really believe that, because you cannot become, you cannot study cooking and become a great chef if you do not have that chefness in your bones, is what I believe in.
Mm.
There's something in the DNA that says this person is going to become a big chef. And I'm a lousy cook, and I know that, because it's like, even if I measure things with the exact spoons and stuff like that, you're never going to get like more than, well, it's not bad, that kind of a taste. So whereas I know people that can whip up magic with by using tomato ketchup instead of tomatoes, and things like that, because there's nothing else. And so I'm saying, even music or movies, sports, the ability to appreciate sports, all of this is like every one of us has been, if you believe in God, you might say blessed. If you don't believe in God, you might say gifted, with certain things in the DNA.
Mm.
Some people write well, some people speak well, are great orators. Like they don't have, they can just go up on a stage and start talking fantastically. And you would have noticed that they would have been great orators in school also.
Mm.
They would have had that thing. It's not something that they just went to some Tamil college and started to do this fantastically. No, they might have honed the use of words and all that, but that
Mm.
thing is I've always been very envious of people who can speak well, because again, that's not something I do well at all.
But
uh,
you've been an amazing singer, because in school and going by what we've read about your
that's a complete
singing days in
exaggeration. I
blogs,
mean, these are Christmas carols.
I mean, I would love to start off with maybe in St. John's, because I too studied in Christian, so I have the I have the memories of singing in choirs. Why don't you sing one choir song for us?
A choir song. It's
I'm sure you remember.
yeah, but I'm like just trying to think of one. It's like right now, silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. I haven't sung in a long time. You're kind of I could just hear myself, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not
It was very
what.
beautiful. It was very beautiful.
No, it was not. But thank you for saying that.
No,
Uh,
you come from a musical family. You were just telling before the dialogue
yeah, we,
started.
we we kind of, typically, there's a very funny line in Dalapati, where Rajnikant tells Shobana, because she's this thing, she comes from a certain kind of family. She says, "Ni paatu paadra ponnu, Bharatanatyam aadra ponnu." That's what it's pretty much is. It's like the boys always learned violin or mridangam or music or something like that. And then the girls went to Bharatanatyam or something like that. It's a typical Tambram kind of unimaginative upbringing. But this was helped because my grandmother was really into music, and she had many siblings, and they all had connections with the musical world at the time,
Mhm.
and they all learned very, very kind of. In fact, there's an anecdote in the family that goes that when my grandfather first came to see my grandfather was a very, very, very fair man, and when he first came to look at my grandmother for the wedding, of course, by today's standards, this would all seem terribly sexist or whatever it is. He kind of was remarking that, okay, she's dark complexioned relatively, but then she started to sing, and then he just said, this is amazing. Of course, it's completely un PC and all that, this anecdote, but the uh, so things uh, when I was growing up, things like pitch perfection, Shruti
Mhm.
Suddham, uh, which is what when I went into sleep in heavenly peace, I knew right now, right then, that I was going into a false voice zone. It's like, it's not what's done. It's if you've done your Akara Sadhakam right, that would not be what you're doing. But then I haven't been like singing properly. But yeah, all that is very important. So even in a film song, when I hear somebody going off key, off pitch,
You've been
uh,
critical of Yuvan many times like that.
I cannot handle it unless it's done for a very specific reason, or I can justify it through an interpretative meaning.
For
Uh,
rock on, you did justify.
rock on. But even a movie, a song like Darisanam Kedekada and Alegal Ovidale, it's sung by Raja, and he sings it in a very kind of a cracked, broken voice, which is his voice, and it fits that adolescent Karthik perfectly, because he's like yearning for a darshan of this Devi, and Darisanam Kedekada, and like somehow you feel that this kind of a boy in that kind of a state would not be able to sing with absolute perfection. It's like, so I'm able to interpretatively justify that kind of a singing. But there have been lots of singers who where there's a style where it becomes like when a note slips, it just, I can't handle it, which could be a big fault, which is why probably I don't review music as much as I used to, because uh, I mean, I don't know. I've asked Yuvan this, and he said something along the lines of the emotion of the song is what's really important, whether the mood carries through. Possibly, yes, but then we're all products of our upbringing. So because of that importance given to pitch perfection, and you don't sing in a false voice and things like that, you see, for example, one of the that's why I think. Like in Western classical music, for instance, a C is fixed. It's 440 hertz, right? If the C note is fixed, whereas for us, we can begin the Sa at our comfort level, and then the Pa and the upper Sa will kind of relatively accommodate themselves to your upper pitch. So if I had done that typical, voice modulation before I sang Silent Night, I would have noticed how high my voice can go today, and therefore lower my tonic note, so that I could have started at a pitch that would be been comfortable for me, instead of me going into that horrible sleep in heavenly peace. But
No, it went actually well. I mean, see, and that's where we've always, before, I mean, the like the famous trope would say, "Supper, supper, sir," and then we'd
yeah,
shut up and and do that.
yeah. No, it's also a question of practice. How your voice is that day, because see, music is very, very. It's like writing. I have to write every day, otherwise I cannot, you cannot maintain. It's like a muscle, right? You have to exercise it every day. So music is a muscle. You can't just, like, you can't just suddenly say, I'm going to sing this today and sing it. It's like you have to have a I mean, there are easy songs. I mean, Silent Night is just, it's a very easy progression of notes, so it's easy to sing. Whereas like something with lots of gamakams and all I would probably not even attempt without practicing first, because your voice also needs that that warm up or whatever it is. You can't just suddenly go and open your throat and start singing, unless of course you've been singing like every day. So yeah, so it's been a very uh, I don't know if I'd call myself a stickler, but for me those things are important. The thing that voice quality is like obviously not very important, because uh, but pitch, the tonal thing, that all that is very very, very important. The fact that somebody doesn't slip.
So in your blogs, you had this fantastic psychological insight that you talked about, that how in our earliest days, that we intensely absorbed the pop culture music around us, right? And for you, it must have been in the 70s. For me, it was in the 90s when A. Rahman kicked to the scene and we
Right.
memorized the Petera. And so for you, and you also talked about your radio days. So what were the kind of music that was, but in your blank slate of those days or those times, in the young early ages, what was the one that really intensely sort of hooked you in? What was the kind of music that hooked you in?
Like film music.
Yeah, film music.
uh Anything that came on the radio. Vivid Bharati, we were a big radio household, so it's like the radio would always be on to Vivid Bharati, Sangeet Sarita, something Hindi songs, Tamil. We were because my grandfather was an electrical engineer, and because he traveled a lot in the north, a northern influence came from there, and then
Hmm.
my parents and all from the south, so
So
the
it came
Tamil
much
influence.
before Bits Pilani and all, long back,
Much,
much
much
before.
before, much. Yeah, I grew up in a trilingual kind of house. So Hindi, Tamil, and English were always like mixed together. So everything that was there on the radio was kind of a thing, and I'm really happy because uh, those were the days uh, in Hindi, you had the famous quartet of Lata, Kishore, Asha, Rafi.
Hmm.
Though Rafi by that time had started losing his voice a bit. Lata lost her voice a little later, but till the 80s she was still singing like very very good, very very well. Uh, but yeah, so that was happening in Hindi, and in Tamil, of course, you had the great SPB and Yeshudas and S Janaki and P Sushila, like just dominating all the songs and the airwaves, so to speak. So it was a I can't single out a better rap a kind of a thing, but one song that I don't know, for some reason I always think of the Ninetale Nikum songs. That was like
Hmm.
79, I think. When
Hmm.
when I think of SPB, when I was writing his Orbit, that was the first thing that sprang to mind. Not his work with Raja, but Ninetale Nikum, because that ah, ah, hey, hey, la 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 la. That's how the prelude goes, right? For Bharati
Hmm.
Kantama, I think so. So I just, uh, just that just keeps coming to my mind all the time. That's still a very precious memory.
Wow. Wow. No, uh, it's like the reason why I said better rap was for us. For me when I was grew up in my 90s, we were looking forward for Air Rahman's cassettes. First Roja came, it blew our expectation, and
Yeah.
then we were like, okay, did I hear that? And then Kadalan came, and at that time I was in my school, and I was studying in Santom in Chennai, which is not so much Peter as say St. John's were, but at least
No, St.
so
John's also
we
not a
used to
very
look up
Peter
to we used
school.
to
It's
look
like
at we used to look up at St. John's as a little more Peter school,
yeah,
because the women,
St. John's
the girls used
Mandavali.
to wear
Yeah,
skirts and
yeah. But I think the see, for me, the most precious music, if I were lying on my deathbed and I wanted to listen to songs,
hmm
there would be the songs from, let's say, 65 to 85.
mm.
Okay,
Mm.
because from 65 to 75 you have MSV roughly, and then from the mid 70s, even though Raja took some time to get started, I still think that he made some of his most imaginative work in the late 70s and the early 80s.
Mm.
For me, the background score of Raja Parvai,
Mhm.
not that Pantuvarali concerto so much as there is one bit where Madhavi comes to watch Kamal recording a violin solo piece, and he plays the violin, and then Raja layers it with synth bubbles and this distorted guitar. He used to use this fantastic, this phasers, flangers, this wah pedals. uh, his guitars used to sound magnificent. It's like all that punk rock energy
And
was
despite that quality those times, I mean, despite the production quality those
actually
times.
the production quality that time. I don't know, because there are some like Ninja Tekelade and all have fantastic. I think the Echo people really took care of the recording, but I think the other companies didn't exactly care.
Mm.
They just was random balancing and all. But if you look at the
Mm.
Echo songs, the songs released by Echo Recording Company,
Mm.
a lot of them are fairly like you listen to Germany in Sendyan Malare. It sounds so soft. There's that softness there. Whereas when you listen to, like, I don't know, Vetri Vera or something like that, it's so harsh.
Mm.
So maybe the people with him also changed. I don't know, but I'm talking
Yeah.
also about like who. This I don't know, because I don't know whether it's just accident and coincidence that the good sounding ones went to echo or what. I don't know what it is, but yeah, but generally kind of, yeah. But yeah, but the point is that he used instruments like that. He would distort the guitars and do this mad stuff, that's amazing. So that was the so on the one side there was this for to be very black and white about it and not have any nuance at all. On the one side there was MSV giving all these Kamba Neyamandan kind of
Mm.
songs, and then on the other hand Ilayaraja was just freaking out with this Ninevalam Nitya and all
Mm.
those kind of songs. So it was a very very like amazing. And of course, because of the nature of the radio, I Jaydev, R.D. Burman, S.D. Burman, that whole mix is mine. So it's like I said, if deathbed music for Hindi and Tamil would be uh, 65 to 85, that would be like a thing that I would very strongly want.
No, the Echo brings back so much more memories because I have the cassette of Anjali, and I remember, I think it was Anjali, if I'm not wrong,
I
where
don't think Echo's Anjali's Echo, right? By the time Echo had gone, right?
I don't remember, but somewhere it brings a flash because
You
I
remember
have
that
that
the
Anjali
logo
cassette in
used
my
to be
home.
like an ECH,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like
I remember.
with the
Yeah,
waves of sound around it, like that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so to me, there was this favorite, excerpt of your writing where you had written this point about motion pictures. There's a reason why motion pictures are called motion pictures because they never rest inside your head. They infiltrate, gestate, mutate, and you had this beautiful phrase, and it's somewhere it stayed in my mind for a very long time. How does music stay with you from that, when you contrast it with music? Do you, I mean, for me, for us, I think I can say it for me, music is like these nice horcruxes.
Hmm.
It kind of carries in certain parts of your identities and phases of your life, and then you kind of park them, in these songs. So when you pull the song, you almost pull the horcrux of that memory, associated with that song. How does music, does it also gestate and move it like how motion pictures used to do it for your head, or images used to do it for your head?
Right, absolutely. Because there is this very strange association that music has with you, right? Because I remember songs where I was tying up shoelaces for school. Uh, there was once I was playing. In MS Lakshmi, when I was driving from Milwaukee to Chicago on a very, very snowy, kind of icy night.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember that I still remember the Karaharapiya Alapana, which was happening then. It was like these very, very vivid, sometimes, the music, but I think it comes every time, the music that you listen to when you were in school, when you fell in love, when this happened, when that happened, everything is so intertwined, it's like, I don't think you can separate, because I think it's also that music uh, is a smaller capsule of information than a movie.
Mm.
So when a musical piece gets it right, it really gets it right. There is less possibility of it going wrong than over a 2.5 hour movies where there's a good chance that there'll be like many more parts that you don't like.
Mm.
So yeah, music is in fact, I would say that the reason I know Hindi so well today, the reason I know Tamil so well today, is all music. Is because I listen to lyrics, and I would then go and ask what this word means and what that word means, and that's how I especially when early Vairamuthu was happening, 81, 82, whatever, the songs would be like filled with these magical words, and you'd go sippil tapir nittilame and all that you kind of thing, which is not, nobody in a house goes sippi and all that, it's like what nobody talks. I mean, now yes, because
Mm.
you've read, but I'm talking about an age where you were not yet reading
Mm.
a lot,
Mm.
so
But that intense listening, was it because you were singing? You were also singer, and you were also sort of
but I
very
think I
used to it.
always like the words with the
Mm.
music. I always register music with words. I never register music as just music,
Mm.
which is probably why I never really got too much into hard rock and stuff like that, because beyond a point, I'm not really into, like, if I cannot hear the words, I don't really typically get into the music.
Mm.
Or but there have been hard rock songs that I've listened to with with the music, with the lyrics, and kind of enjoyed. But for me,
Mm.
it's always been an amalgamation of words and music. It's I cannot separate the two.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like a yeah, that memory is of those intense memories. I think come from the fact that but again, I remember certain things. I don't know if it's like this for everybody, because is it because like there's a reverse psychology at play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I like music and movies so much, am I remembering this, or does everybody do this? Because I don't remember some game of cricket that happened when I was in school or something. I remember some very vague things like Ravi Shastri winning that Audi car,
Mm.
like India winning the World Cup. The really really huge
Mm.
things.
It doesn't come in a monochromatic depth.
It
Mm.
doesn't come with that dimension that music and movies do. So so maybe it's I don't know whether it's a chicken and egg question. Whether is it because I register movies and music so much that only those memories come back, or is it for everyone that they associate specific songs with specific memories or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's fascinating. I would, in fact, I was so interested. I'm interested, but but when I was in the US, I enrolled myself in a community college because I wanted to study music, as in formal music, like Western classical
But you
music.
did learn formally under your grandmother, right?
No, no, I learned like part, like songs,
Okay.
but I
Theory.
didn't know
Theory.
about Western classical music, apart from like the usual, 100 greatest composers, 100 greatest pieces of Western classical music. You used to get those cassettes, right? It's like we should
Mm.
just play one Bach toccata, one something something, that kind of thing. So uh so this was like an effort to get into uh understanding music really, and finding out I loved the class. I mean, I audited it, so I didn't have to study for a grade, but it was just brilliant. It's just one of those things where I can just sit and listen to people talking about music all day long. It's one of those things where the time doesn't seem to matter at all.
Mm. No, but was there? I mean, almost. I grew up also in a Tambram household, and I learned Mridangam for almost a decade in those things. But and there was always this phase. At least for me, there was a phase when I took Mridangam extremely seriously and really entertained the idea of taking it as a professional career. But of course, the stories diverge when the moment you come to your 12th, and you kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're told to get serious. Was that a career for you similarly with music?
No, no, no. I don't think I ever considered it seriously as a career. But I always, it was always there. Like I knew that this was going to be some like a constant companion. It was not just some. In fact, one thing that like right from my childhood, right? I can drive and listen to music. Of course, I wasn't driving as a child. But what I'm trying to say is that I can drive and listen to music. There are certain things I cannot do while listening to music. There are some people who study while listening to music.
Mm.
There are some people who write while listening to music. I cannot do any mental activity while listening to music because the music occupies all my mental space.
Mm.
So I can do laundry while listening to music. I can do, wash dishes while listening to music. But I cannot do anything that requires some kind of cognitive activity. When I cannot read, I cannot write anything. I cannot even type out an email if I'm listening to music, because I'll be like typing out musical phrases on the, as in I'll words, some words
Mm.
might be from the song
Spillover. Spillover.
spillover. So I cannot. So when people say, like, I've written a couple of screenplays and things like that. So the people ask me, "Oh, did you listen to this? Did you listen to that?" I said, "No, I can't. I cannot listen. I can listen. I mean, if there's noise around, crows, something, all that, people shouting in the house, all that is fine, because that's general noise. But music is so specific,
Mm.
and I cannot do anything that requires brain work if music is there. So I guess this. See, I feel very honored and flattered and really really grateful that you remember all these things. But I really feel that you're giving me credit for something that I have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, No, really, I'm not. This is not modesty or anything like that, because it's not something like, for instance, I can take credit for my writing career, because that is something I consciously pursued and got to where I am today. I don't know if I can take any credit for this musical ability or whatever it is, because
No,
it's
no.
uh,
Mm. No,
so when
what
you say these things, I somehow feel like like, yeah, it's nice listening to them, but I don't know if I really deserve to be singled out for this.
No, so
Uh,
let me give you why I'm trying to ask these questions. So, for like for instance, when you did this interview with Kamal Hassan, you talked about his entire musical influence, right?
right,
He talked about it, and you were
right.
asking questions, I suppose. And so he talked about his musical influence and all the various things that shaped him. So in some ways, when we come across your writings and in the kind of intensity in which it touches, and some of them are also somewhere they are these little flotsams of nice things that kind of roll around. So I'm just curious to see
No, no, no.
what
I'm
all
happy.
the what is the
See,
quadrant what's the
we are
quadrant that kind of went in to come out of this kind of a
right. So
title.
I'm always happy to talk about music. I love, this conversation is really enjoyable. What I'm trying to say is that I don't know if I can take any, I can be singled out and take any special credit for
Mm,
something that I have no control over.
mm,
The kind of family I was born into, the fact that they were into music, the fact that music was encouraged, the fact that music was all around me from when I was a child,
mm,
that fact that so many great aunts and uncles were constantly singing, the fact that
mm,
we were taken to so many concerts. Like, how can you control all that, right? And beyond that, the DNA thing that I spoke to you about earlier, uh, which kind of sounds like some, but what I'm, something like a evolutionary advantage or something like that. But I'm not talking about that at all. I'm just saying that different people, everybody has some DNA advantage
mm,
uh, that they have. I think everyone has it. It's just that some people haven't realized it,
mm.
or choose not to realize it. Uh, and mine just happened to be the pure dumb luck music. And if you ask me tomorrow if I would have traded this for the DNA advantage to be able to think like a businessman and make crores of money, I would have like traded it in a heartbeat. I have that. I have zero in. I'm zero in that department. So bad at salary negotiations and things like that. So
Mm. You don't have to be, I mean, shy about your roots. Right? It's I think in a certain sense, every
no,
root
no, but
shape us in.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely not shy about it. But like I just said, like it's immensely humbling and flattering, and I'm very grateful that you're remembering this and talking to me about this. But I'm just also saying that the you could probably be having this conversation with many other people.
Mm. No, the reason why let me sort of reason why I am interested in this having this conversation with you primarily here is uh, there's a very fascinating blend of how at one end you identify the ragams, you talk about you are able to have a very effortless conversation with whether the Soumya or anyone, and at the same time you're also moving in. So for us, the panoramic scope of your musical universe is very fascinating.
No, but it's a very limited universe, right? It's only movies and music. The world is far more than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah.
It's literally only these two things.
No,
It's like
but yeah, they are the worlds to you. I mean, it's
they're my worlds. They're the universe to me. So it's like
yeah, they are
I
the
cannot.
They are the Ganeshas who rule, who walked around Shiva and
Yeah, for me, I cannot imagine a world without music because thing. Whereas every time I see there are friends of mine who will say, "Oh, this is a great song, right?" And then they will talk over it, continue having a conversation, and I'm like, "No, I'm sorry. You either say if it's a great song, then you listen to it, or let's switch it off and then talk. But we cannot have this great song playing and talking. It doesn't happen,
mm,
because that I can't do that."
mm,
And which is why I'm so popular, I guess, amongst my friends. I can't, that but I think these little eccentricities are what really define when you say intensity. That's really a word that I think is misused a lot when people say you're too intense, because I don't think it is possible to do anything if you're not intense about it.
mm,
It
mm,
is not possible to concentrate on your career if you're not intense about it. You can't just be casual about stuff and then expect to be rewarded for it.
mm,
If you're reviewing a piece of music, you've got to listen to it intently, with intensity.
mm.
I don't think it's possible to kind of be very cool and casual about things and then be rewarded for it in any significant way. So when people say, "Oh my God, you're too intense," I actually take it as a compliment, because that's how one would want to be.
No, and I think and that's where this intensity is where you're able to touch the truth of it, right? I mean, to me, as fans of your writing, what it resonates to me is somewhere you get to that truth of it, that essence of it.
Hopefully, I mean, that is the attempt. I don't know if I do that all the time, but that is the truth. Because, and when you say the truth, I would differ with that also.
Yeah, 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 I understand.
My truth of it.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
the truth
but in
that
a
I
sense,
think,
yes.
as
Yeah,
opposed to some very scientifically provable truth. That's not it at all. It's my truth.
yeah, of course. I'm
And
talking in the realm of art, where
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
you get into that essence there. And
Right.
no, but I mean, which is actually brings me to interesting space where, for instance, one observation I've had over these times when I'm hearing intense music. For instance, the music of Pariyarum Perumal was very intense to me.
Yeah.
And but
It's
somewhere,
I love Santosh Narayanan. I
yeah,
mean, I think he's genuinely one of the few people that's really changed the paradigm of music after Rahman. I just love the guy. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but somewhere, I have this feeling that, I remember being completely gobsmacked and blown by his music and watching this in the theater. And somewhere I came out of it, I just couldn't remember any song. And it was
Yeah.
not like, it was not like it didn't have a certain ear warming quality or anything. It's just that somewhere it seems like, in the earlier times, the song, although it existed in a certain story context, right, but the song also could jump out of it and, hook onto you in a certain way, right? Whereas today, the songs today seem, over time, especially when I go into watch movies, there are very one or two songs. Maybe I can pick up some songs which are extremely melodic, that it kind of registers, and it kind of it moves away from its function in the movie and comes with you along, in different contexts, right? Is Are you also seeing this, or why do you think this is happening?
Because you're growing old. I'm serious. I think the ability to intensely absorb new stuff, that blank slate that we all have, gets filled up by the time you're maybe 25. I think, I don't know, maybe 20 to 25 is the amount of, like all that becomes the cherished stuff of your life, which you will never forget. You
Hmm.
will never forget the guitar passages of Eleanor. It's those things that I actually don't want to listen to Eleanor anymore, because it's like in my head. If I want to play it, it's like in my head. It's like every tab, every chord is there. So it's like I don't need to listen to the song anymore. You know.
Hmm.
So, but that reduces over time, obviously, because a uh, at first, when you're in school and all that, you're just listening to music, or you don't have any responsibilities, you don't have a career, you don't have any pressure, except that like you have to read, you have to get marks, you have to whatever it is, it's like study well, or whatever it is. So there's no pressure. Like all of these influences just come to you like that.
Hmm.
I would say, even the books that you read as a kid would probably, you'll remember it better than the books that you read recently. That just happens, that the tape, that blank slate fills up. Another thing is, even when you were young, which is like you're saying Roja time and all that, the albums used to come out in a phased manner. It
Hmm.
wouldn't be like dumped on the thing. And now you imagine, it's not just music albums that are coming out in a like so many at a time, but we have access to them. See,
Hmm.
when the Roja cassette happened, we went and bought a Roja cassette and listened to a Roja cassette. Now, when I'm listening to a new Rahman, Dil Bechara, whatever, YouTube is automatically taking me to something else, to something else, to something else, to something else. So that whole thing of putting one, turning the side, listening to side B, then turning again side A, then again side B, that's a conscious thing that you're doing. And the
Hmm.
consciousness of that act is making you kind of a thing. Uh, but I think that also is this sheer information overload right now, is why I feel that uh, it's so whenever somebody says, oh, they don't make music like they used to, no, they do make music like I don't know what you mean by used to, but of course it's not the same type of music. Nobody wants to listen to a KV Mahadevan song now, I mean, I would assume. But there are good songs being made. However, even if you define good as, are they written well, are they sung well, are they composed well, are the interludes beautiful, all these criteria are fulfilled, but it's because the number of times we listen to them has drastically reduced.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that doesn't stick in our heads as much as the songs that we used to listen to in our childhood over and over and over and over again.
Hmm. Hmm.
So those patterns are stuck in our head. Whereas when you listen to like Santosh's music or anything else right now today,
Hmm.
it's like it becomes you may remember "Ada karupi en karupi."
Yeah,
You
yeah,
remember that
exactly.
one line,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you may not figure out. You may not remember how the rest of the song goes. Like I remember the Pallavi very well, but the Charanam is a little bit of a haze to me. If I read, if I listen to it, it'll probably come back. But it's like right now I can't.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
it
that
stands for
pathos, that song captures it brilliantly.
sorry.
That pathos, that song of that.
Yeah, but also that I love the fact that I've always been very partial to uneven melodic lines.
Mhm.
Like I'm not even going to attempt to sing this,
No,
but
it's okay.
because I can't go there. But it's like uh, "Ada அட கருப்பி என் கருப்பி ரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரரர structure is so like asymmetric, right? As opposed to one, it is like your 4 by 4, like Aditalam,
Mm,
whatever it is, but where it peaks and stops, they're not at the 4 and the 8. It's not like at the
mm,
sum.
mm,
There
mm.
these jagged edges in that song, so it sticks to your mind. Whereas if somebody did a very typical 4/4 song, it might not like stick as easily. So I think there are so many factors today that music doesn't register anymore with the people. Uh, so I would really ask this with somebody in there who's 15 today, who's 20 today, and see how they process music and how they listen to music. I think that would be a much better a way of finding out, because it's like, with the sheer information overload, I think like everything else, music also kind of a thing, because your attention span is gone.
Mm.
So if you don't, uh, so like even with Rahman, I've always had a problem with this slow poison thing,
Theory.
theory, because there are so many Rahman songs that I loved, and I just needed to have one listen to know that I like the song. So for
Mm,
intricacies, I might have to listen to it 3, 4 times, 5 times, or whatever it is. But my basic liking for that song
mm,
was established with that one listen.
mm,
Because I'm not going to go and listen to a song that doesn't grab me 5 times just so that because then you're not sure if you're liking the song,
mm,
or if you've gotten used to the song.
mm, mm, mm.
So I've never really like figured that out. It's like, so I really feel that if something is working, and in all this information overload, I think that then it kind of stands out. But yeah, but today's composers, I think, are kind of screwed that way, because they don't have that liberty of and also I don't know, this is, of course I'm much older, but the pace of life even in the 90s to today seems so accelerated, right? It's like everybody's doing 100 things all at once.
Mm.
Like, I don't know when was the last time you saw somebody just listening to radio, on Motamari, like a transistor by their head or something like that. That seems like such a archaic kind of image. You want to summon some huge. It sounds like something from the Chola period or something like that, but it's not. It's just like 20 years, 30 years ago. But today, you just don't do that, because it's almost like, why do one thing when we can do 5 things?
Mm, mm.
And I think all that has affected the way we process music, especially those of us who want to really get into music. Yeah.
No, but also, in terms of, I remember this piece where you had written, in where you'd sort of talked about Paul Kale, Pauline Kale. So where you, yeah, so you kind of talked about the whole, sort of the way neo realistic sort of way, where she said she hiding its discomfortable thing. But today, but even now, I mean, like, for instance, those that kind of a shooting process was we don't see much these days. We see more songs that are hovering over the air,
Yeah.
hovering over the zone, rather than somebody walking on. I mean, of course, Maniratnam does that sometimes these days also, but over time, that kind of a way where somebody is actually coming and singing also seems to be going down. That kind of a way to represent a song in a movie. Don't you
No,
think
but
so?
that happened even as recent as Master. You had the songs being staged. I think all the hero movies have the songs being staged. It's only these mid zone movies, like either the mid zone mainstream movies, like the ones that Vetrimaran, Maniratnam, Gautam, all those kind of make, which means like mainstream movies but they're not totally
Mm,
mainstream commercial, but they're also not arty. These mid-zone
mm,
movies. I think those have kind of compromised a bit on how they use music, because I was like, Asuran didn't even need songs.
mm, mm,
It's like almost like that they composed all those lovely songs and then they just chopped them because there was no real need for them in the narrative, because you're not letting anything linger. Same thing was like one of the biggest disappointments for me in Chekka Chedavanam was the way the songs were used, because it
mm,
was like they were blaring over the background. It's like almost like they composed all the songs, they didn't know where to fit them. The most beautiful song in the film was that Mare Kurvi. I love that song,
mhm,
and that was chopped off like after I think one stanza or something like that.
mm,
I'm like, I understand that a variety of reasons go through, but I think there are other people who use those five songs as
mm.
five songs. There
Mm.
are there are
The
people who
Bhumi
do
one
that.
seemed at least better off. At least in the end, it kind of had that Zen kind of a feeling,
Which
The
one?
Bhumi, the one which
Oh,
Shakti,
Second one.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, no, no. I'm talking about the commercial filmmakers.
Mm,
They use all, like if they have five songs, they will make sure that they use the five songs properly. They, because the song is a genuine thing. Though I do think that now with the pressure on bringing movie running times down for many things, I think songs will be a casualty. Uh, uh, kind of. Yeah, I don't know how much will survive, because over years you find different composers fading away. Like today, for instance, when you listen to Hindi radio in Mumbai, whenever I go to Mumbai, I always ask the cab driver to play some popular oldies station, oldies station, and they can't go beyond R.D. Burman. And
mm,
when you mean R.D. Burman, it's not Pyar Ka Mausam or anything like that. It's not. It's like 80s R.D. Burman.
mm,
Love Story and Betab are their oldies.
mm,
So I think with every 5-10 years, an entire set of songs gets forgotten and preserved only by either musicologists or people who grew up with that music or whatever it is.
mm,
If an art form like the opera is alive, it's not because the masses are listening to it. It's because it's being kept alive by repertory houses and classical houses and things like that. It's taught. Whereas with the film song, you don't have that thing, right? It's like so I think they will all get lost at some point, but we can just be happy that we were there at that particular moment in time, to enjoy it when a song just burst out in the air at night and soothed us, or made us happy, or perfectly underlined that emotion that we were going through.
mm. No, I mean, like I'm suddenly reminded of Shahul Hamid, the singer who used to sing in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shankar's, and I mean, in those days, like I don't know, even if Shankar makes a movie, next movie, would he have those kind of times where we would suddenly go in, gentlemen, we would go into an completely no reason, we would go into to an folk kind of folkish and we'll hear Usalam Batti.
But yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't know if today those whether we would be able to hear Shahul Hamid kind of. I mean, he had amazing voice, and I would love his voice.
Yeah, and he's no more, right?
No more, no more. He passed
Yeah.
away. He had
So
an accident.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I don't know, because see, the thing is also that movies now, unlike, see, the other privilege that movies earlier had is, even when you were like when you were talking about your formative music, that is maybe the Roja Bombay period, like Rahman bursting on Gentleman, Kadalan. So basically, the two definitive filmmakers of that time were Maniratnam on the one side and Shankar on the other side. They were basically, because they were bringing all the Rahman albums would pretty much be like
Mm,
divided into the Maniratnam albums and the Shankar albums, right? So uh, at that time, people still went, like, family audience attendance in the movies was, even though TV had come, it was still a thing.
mm,
You still had people going to movies, and movies were tailored for a family audience.
mm,
Now what has happened is the movies are being tailored increasingly to what you call the youth market, right?
mm,
So unless you have that beat, unless you have that mass element, unless you have that something, you can't you can't hope to draw the youth in, because that's what's
mm,
like kind of a thing. So that's become a big changing factor in. And
mm,
see, every time somebody tells me that they don't make movies or music like they used to, I also always tell them, see, you're partly responsible, because
mm,
if you went to the movies and or bought the music or listened to the music enough to kind of this one, then they would make music for you.
Mm,
But if
mm,
you're going to passively consume it later, and then they're not going to think. But one thing I'm really curious about is, there was a I see the people around me, the youngsters around me. This is really getting into an old fart zone, but I see so many youngsters around me being so driven.
mm-hmm. To old songs.
No, driven, so driven in their career and what they want to
Mm,
do and this like that. It's almost like don't you guys want to slow down, and just maybe smell a few roses along the way? And because that doesn't happen, I'm I'm just, this is very anecdotal because I'm only using people around me, but I think that also contributes to the way songs are digested and heard. As I said, like, because the world is so accelerated now, it's like,
mm,
you I don't know if people want to actually listen to, like, just close their eyes and listen to a song anymore. And if you
mm,
don't close your eyes and listen to a song, I don't think you're uh, like, even if you're a music kacheri fan and you go to a kacheri and you're looking at your smartphone during a raga alapana or something like that. I mean, you find people doing that all the time. So
mm,
the music, basically you're saying that the music has become a background to your life.
mm,
You're not really listening to it, right? So I think all that has contributed to the shift, if you will. But then again, it's very hard to do these comparative studies over eras that have so changed so much, because maybe like a teenager from today, like somebody who's 10 years old today, would just like completely think that uh, the best music is being made now, and they listen to all the lyrics or whatever it is,
mm,
but yeah, but yeah, those. But I think what really make for me, the SD Burman songs, the all those movie songs, the Gulzar RD Burman songs, why all those things stand out is because of the depth
mm.
of a thing. Because every time I'm in a restless mood, when I listen to Ek Akela Is Sheher Mein, or if I listen to Raah Mein Rehte Hain, it's almost like somebody has understood the sadness in my life and has created a song specifically for that moment of sadness. And after 5 minutes, I feel like I've shared that pain with somebody.
Why don't you
And
sing that song?
which one?
Ek Akela, yeah.
God, that the Bhupinder's voice. एक अकेला इस शहर में, रात में और, see, I went wrong right there. रात में और दोपहर में आबोदाना ढूंढता है, आशियाना ढूंढता है. How
Wow.
much? No, I wanna
Beautiful.
please. Chumma, you're just saying
La, la, la.
this.
I mean, yeah, like for instance, for me, whenever I have to, there was this phase in my college days when, it was in my college when I discovered Kishore. And in all the sad moments, and you want to, you want one song to soak you into
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
sadness. And there was this beautiful part when Bombay Jayashree told, in your recent interview, where she said that somewhere these melancholic songs have a certain
Yeah.
depth.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
for instance, I can't forget the song of I learned this in the college when I was trying to sing Kishore. And mere naina savan
Yeah.
hai. And even this one, Phir bhi, I mean, there's so many songs that in the sad ones, somewhere they pull you in a kind of depth that I don't
But
think
I
any
also think
song.
that because you're a particular kind of listener, you grew up listening to that kind of thing. Whereas today, people would just say, like, "Oh my God, this is too sad a song."
Mm, mm,
Like, I think so much, like so many other things in life. This is also very personality based.
mhm,
Uh, like, when you listen to uh, uh, like a Subha Pantuvarali, for instance,
mhm,
for 20-30 minutes, the rasa is shoka mostly. Like, it's like
mm,
that's a very sad sounding ragam,
mm,
not sad is the wrong word for it. There's a depth, there's a melancholy. It's like,
mhm,
it's not sad as in weeping, but there's a depth, there's a certain longing, yearning, all those things come to it,
mm,
right?
mm,
Whereas when you sing a Mohanam, it's all like major
mm,
notes, right? So it's like
mm,
you're just like you're right out of, yeah, it's a very bright and sunshiny kind of ragam. So it's like a
mm,
you just go along with it. So I think so if I think you can divide the world into uh, I mean the general one. I mean not music crazy people, but the general word into Mohanam lovers and Subhapanturali lovers. Maybe like the people who want like music to be happy, movies to be happy. And I know so many people that they will not go and watch a Pariyar Perumal or a 96 because it's like they don't want sad endings.
mm,
They don't want these unresolved tension endings and all that. They want to go and have a good time, and they
mm,
don't mind that it's a repetitive good time that they've seen the same movie earlier. See, because I think it speaks to a certain sensitivity in people. And again, I know this sounds like a judgment, but it's not. That you want that unresolved note in like an unresolved note in a jazz composition can leave that the way it hangs, right?
mm,
It's beautiful. It's like you almost want to go and add a couple of extra notes and complete it. But
mm,
that lack of completion is what makes that song, because it's hanging there.
mm.
I think some people just are uncomfortable with it. It's fine, because like I said, when we speak like this, we end up sounding sometimes like snobs, because
That's okay.
it's like no, it's okay. Of course, it's okay. But what I'm trying to explain is that there is no one right s- way to define what a great song is, or
Mm,
what a I can only say what works for me, right?
mm,
And the way I've listened to music is this way.
mm,
So yeah,
mm,
so but it's like yeah, but and even the way, like I said, I learned uh, uh, words through songs, like a
mm.
lot of
You had written this essay about homeschooling Tamil to songs.
yeah, so Tamil and Hindi, right? It's like it was happening like there. I even learned because the older songs, they are so pure in terms of raga
Mm,
phrases, that you kind of that you kind of know that this is what the
mm,
the song is. It's like कोरा कागज था ये मन
mm,
मेरा.
mm,
So that's like a pahadi, that right
mm,
off the bat, you've established the pahadi kind of a thing, which again comes in the man undan sondaman, same, like, so you can
mm,
kind of literally go likh liya naam is pe tera pakkam mandan sind paadum. So it's like, all
mm.
that also is very easy. Like film music becomes a very easy catch point, reference point to store phrases of ragams in your head, so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
uh,
exactly. Yeah.
you hear a
The Kalyani for me,
yeah,
for Amma and Radhika, the Kalyani is where it's registered in the head.
yeah. So
Kalyani means
there are 5 phrases in that song which immediately, like when you see somebody singing it in a kacheri, you know that, oh my god, this is, this ragam, whatever. So I mean, these are all nerdy, geeky things that like everybody else, like every other field, I think, it depends on how deep you want to get into things. But
no, but
you
I
don't,
think
what I'm like, you don't have to know Kora Kagas has Pahadi to enjoy it.
yeah,
You can just enjoy it like a song.
yeah.
But I guess, it's our interest that makes you want to go to
Mm,
like a deeper depth and say
mm.
it's a Pahadi. But then is it a pure Pahadi, or are there like Anya Swaras in this, and those kinds of things that you keep like getting into. So
No, I mean, like for instance, that's another aspect that you beautifully brought in. Like, for instance, there was this phase in the college, the song, right? "உன் சமையலறையில்," and
yeah,
it's a beautiful blend of different ragas that come in.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
somewhere the next generation, I think we've also started marrying ragams in a very, in a very intricate, it's like a Persian carpet, as you used to
Right,
say.
but see, I don't know if certain songs, because one line sounds like one ragam and another, so I think sounds like is a little tricky, because that's a very tricky way to because some songs might sound like one ragam, but can be another thing. Like for example, Shri and Madhyamavati are very very allied ragams.
Mm,
So it's like so you could listen to and Brindavana Saranga, I think they're all very, very like similar to each other. So it all depends on like when you do sounds like, then you could go wrong with these three, but maybe yes, the sounds like could help you narrow down to the family of these three or whatever it is, which is again uh, because what makes the ragam is more than the sound, like it's that particular phrase that is in the arohanam or the avarohanam or whatever it is. That's what makes the ragam. But then again, a lot of people say that many the ragams are as incidental to the composition as, I think, because while somebody is creating a song, they're not necessarily, MSV is not like, unless he's literally making a Bhairavi song for Abhurva Ragangal where the character's name Bhairavi, where it's a very specific thing, that he's not necessarily thinking, oh, today I'm going to use Amir
Yeah.
Kalyani and like do a song. It's like some tune comes and then he develops a tune, but because that ragam is so innate in him, or Raja, or whoever it is, that it inevitably follows a progression, because those that now it's like out of 10 roads he's chosen this road. So he stepped he's put one foot onto this road, so the second foot will automatically be on that road, and like the third foot will automatically be placed on that road. So it's like they play a note on the harmonium, and because that note takes them on a particular journey, it becomes a ragam. So did they consciously try to do it in that ragam, or is the ragam a result of the first few notes that kind of happen and then do that? But of course, to us, if a song at our end, if it sounds like a ragam, then it is in that ragam, whether it was intentional or not. Which is where, again, I come back to that point I keep making about movies, that authorial intention is so impossible to define, whether in movies or music, because it's like everybody says, oh, director in the mari yoshak matanga, oh, Ilayaraja ve namari yoshak matar, oh, Ram, but like, who cares? It's like the music is mine now, the movie is mine now. I can play with it, seek meanings in it, interpret it in any way. It doesn't belong to Ilayaraja anymore. It doesn't belong to MSV anymore, because they've done this great, magnificent work of art and given it to me. Now it's mine.
No,
It
and
is interacting with my synaptic nerves and my heart and my psyche and consciousness, and becoming my thing. And that song will never be the same for anybody else, because my thinking processes are so uniquely mine that song will always be something else for another person. Am I explaining this, or is it sounding like
yeah, no,
nonsense?
no, I
Yeah,
totally get it. No,
yeah,
I mean, it's like these songs had that kind of, or these even movies or any aspects, they had this that depth that you could derive from it from various ways.
right.
So I guess it that kind of it gave that kind of flavor. I mean, and that's where even for films with that, right, they had that kind of
But
depth.
you have a lot of really bad films from like that era as well. Shivaji made a ton of bad films. MGR
Yeah,
made a
yeah,
ton of bad films. Kamal Rajni made tons of bad films. It's like,
yeah.
but music is still great. I mean, see, I think it all depends on the fact that that the music was a very important component of the movies then.
Hmm.
Now it is more like a marketing tool,
Hmm. Correct.
as opposed to being part of the song itself. And one of the things that you find out is like, that there's one anecdote that I wanted to tell you. It's like,
Mhm.
it took me a while to get back to music from KV Mahadevan songs and all that, or even some of the earlier MSV songs, because see, right, like for me, Raja was the defining force, right? It's like, and his songs were so perfect, in the sense that the prelude would happen, and then there'd be a perfect segue to the Pallavi. Then the Pallavi would end, and like almost like you can't wait to break through the gates. The first interlude will happen, and then it'll end perfectly, and then the Charanam will happen, and then. So when I went back to certain older songs and discovered these odd changes of beats, or sometimes there'd be a pause out of nowhere, it took me a while to register things like silence as part of a film. I thought they were doing the wrong things, Of course, this is all when I was very young. But I thought, like, this you can't. This is all,
The puristic
wrong,
lens
because
comes in. Yeah.
this is not perfect. there was a certain, so I had to remove that myth of perfection as well, because like some of Ilayaraja's songs are so incredibly perfect that it's almost like everything fits in like this clockwork gears, and you can't, like, it's one organism, like you cannot separate its thing. And it took me a while to realize that it's okay if different parts are held together by a melodic note. It doesn't always have to be that perfect, that, and that opens up the doors to whole new types of music. I think the only music I cannot enter is maybe pre 55, 50, like Anil Biswas. Though I love Sudarsanam, Papanasam Sivam, all that I love, because again I grew up with Tyagaraja Bhagavatar songs, so that's all part of my library. So, but the Segal, that all that I didn't grow up with. So all that is very, very alien sounding for me. I can't relate much to that. That's all probably the only music that is more of academic interest to me than emotional interest. Like, I'm okay, let's see what they've done, but I think the earliest I can go back to is the C. Ramchandra, Naushad, SD Burman, like say mid 50s, like 50s to mid 50s. Before that, I find it a little difficult to enter because everything sounds so out there, which I suppose what would you could say today for people listening to SD Burman, because when you listen to an Abhiman or something like that, I guess it's so different from what you hear today, is that it prevents you from entering that world, and I think that will happen all the time. So I think there is a need to preserve certain kinds of music beyond just having them on the present on the web. See, in a way, these songs will never die because they're always going to be on the web. But whether anybody is going to actually keep listening to them after generations pass on is anybody's guess. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, like there were. I mean, I remember when I was just having this conversation. Suddenly I got reminded of this. I don't know if you remember this track. There was this album called the guy who made Five Star, Susi Ganesan. So he had come up with this album called Virumbugiren with Prashant.
And Sneha.
Yeah. And I don't know if you heard that music there. It had some amazing folk tracks. And I remember this phase where I listened to the songs and got so blown away by the amount of folk songs he had experimented in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. No.
And suddenly I got remembered of that, and I'm like those kind of songs. Only now I'm very looking forward to Karnan, where I'm told I heard one song and it was very yeah. There's this kind of other diversity that you kind of miss out, in these times.
Yeah, but see, again, I'm saying that see, every era, the music was created for the listeners of that era, right? How do people determine how popular a song is? It's because of the requests that they get. So there is like there was a time when people used to listen to pure poetry, which is so which is why I was moderating a discussion at the Mumbai Film Festival with Shabana Azmi and somebody who and the director. It was about a film made on Kaifi Azmi, her father. And I asked, how do you make sure that works of people like Kaifi Azmi are preserved, right? So the director went, like he said, there's no need to do that because these will be immortal. But that's just a rhetoric, right? I mean, like, I'm asking a practical question. How do you, theoretically, yes, they may be immortal or whatever it is, but who's listening to them? Who's actually reading those poems? Who's listening to Pyasa today? It's like that's how things will survive, right? If generation after generation after generation picks something up, see, that way at least your average Pata class is making sure that Carnatic music survives, because every time a new student enrolls in a class from a different generation, that ragam is preserved, a tradition is preserved, a certain what you call bani is preserved. So Veena Dhanamal may no longer be there, but as long as her students are passing down their knowledge or whatever it is, it's going on. But how do you preserve poetry? How do you preserve other kinds of things? I don't know. So that was my curiosity. It's like, yes, Kaifi Azmi did this amazing work in all this stuff, but how do you like preserve those songs? And
Mm.
I don't think we there's an answer, because I
Mm.
don't know if they can be preserved.
Mm.
See, Shakespeare has become a byword for standard English literature,
When
but
he started as a lowbrow art.
when he started off with lowbrow art, but the point is, how many people know, like, actually read Shakespeare? They may know the plot of Hamlet, they may know the plot of Othello or something like that, but like, how many actually read iambic pentameter?
Mm.
Right? So I would say that that's now a lost art, because it's anything that doesn't reach the masses, or exist among the masses, and moves to those rarefied academic circles or whatever it is
Mm.
a lost art, because it's not in the
I
public
mean,
domain anymore.
yeah, I mean, I'm actually reminded of this. Recently, I was reading about this Japanese temple, which is about some 13 temple. And one thing which this was written by this building engineer who's been studying how buildings constructions have evolved over time. And he was saying this beautiful thing that this temple has been able to archive their old ways of construction simply by demolishing that temple every once in 100 years.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
kind of preserve the knowledge.
yeah,
Yeah, that architectural knowledge, so I think certain so I think going back to that Pata class example, I think maybe what I'm really getting at is, because there is a guru shishya tradition,
mm,
that thing is continuing,
mm,
that knowledge is being perpetuated.
mm,
Whereas with things for which there is no guru shishya tradition, like film songs,
mm,
movies,
mm,
poetry,
mm.
because unless you join literature class or something like this, is a good bet that you're not going to read any poetry like properly. So these are all bound to be very, like, they exist in like particular eras, and then they vanish.
Mm.
Of course, you
Yeah.
could also say that Carnatic music doesn't really exist with the masses. But what I'm
Mm,
trying to say is, at least it's passed on. That
mm,
knowledge is passed on. Whereas
mm.
with these other things, it's or Hindustani music, whatever you take,
Yeah.
whatever kind of, the thing, because of there is a guru, there's a shishya. That shishya becomes a guru, gets another shishya. This doesn't happen uh, with thing, because however much I might try to make a youngster listen to Ilayaraja or MSV or something like that, if his brain can't process it,
Mm.
or his or her brain can't process it, and by this I don't mean the ability to process it.
Yeah.
I don't mean that they're musically challenged or something like that. I just mean, just like my inability to process Anil Biswas, Kisaigal, and all that, because it's
Mm,
just, there's something in me that shuts that off. I
mm,
can't listen to it anymore.
mm.
Maybe my into Tyagaraja Bhagavatar is also because, like Radhe Enoko Kobam Agadadi Centurity. So that thing, is there some other noise happening here?
Uh, no, no. I'm sorry. There's some bit of ambient noise from my end. Sorry.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Uh, so maybe the Carnaticness of the song is what is appealing to me. But or maybe it's just the fact that it was playing when I was growing up. So like without realizing it, that became a standard template sound in my library of sounds that are acceptable to my ears and my brain. Whereas when I listen to Segal, that's not happening. That's like, because that was not part of the syllabus, so to speak. That it was out of syllabus. So I when I reached Segal at a point later, and I tried to see, okay, what's the fuss about Segal? I couldn't get it at all. And I mean this with all humility, because this is not to diminish him as a musician. This is more to say that I couldn't get into his music. So that's what it is.
We are almost in the last 10 minutes, and what I really want to sort of end this in the is sort of do something what you did once to a few other singers, which is
Oh God.
I'm going to I'm going to give all the rasas here, and I would love to hear some song that's the first one evocation for that rasa.
God, this is such. I'm going to fail this miserably, but yeah, go ahead.
Shringara.
Uh, it's just love, and I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. No, see, so like suddenly you say sing a love song, it's like it just goes, it just becomes this. I guess Kora Kagas, because it's okay. No, uh, मेरा मन तेरा प्यासा, मेरा मन तेरा. Or it's not technically Shringara, but that's like that. Yeah, it is Shringara. It's like अभी ना जाओ छोड़ कर कि दिल अभी भरा नहीं.
Thank you. Hasyam.
I really can't. I can't remember. Yeah, it's like tell me a song. It's like a uh,
No, in curiosity, Hasyam could mean anything in whatever ways for you.
well, like, yeah, it could mean like Inaminadika, Dai Dai Damanika. You know, it's something
Mm.
like that. It's like it's just like a fun song. It's very hard to kind of pin down a rasa like that for me. Like, I'm very bad at extemporaneous questions. I'm good at asking these questions. I'm very bad at answering them. So, and also what you see in my interviews are edited, right? So you don't see the long time that the people take to think up of those songs, whereas this is happening live. So you're putting me in a spot now.
Mm. How about Karuna?
uh, உள்ளத்தில் நல்ல உள்ளம் உறங்காதென்பது. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. It's like a Senjot in Kadantin. Oh, like that whole song is a and the beat. Oh my God! Let me not forget the beat. For the first time, it's like your typical 4/4, right? But look at what MSV does with the Kanjira in that beat, because there's like one Tisram kind of thing happening in the middle of that. It's like wow, it's just stunning. I didn't listen to the beat for the longest time. I was just listening to, because Sirgari's voice being what it is, and of course Alex has made it immortal. You listen to that song first, but because it's such an overpowering voice, but then later I had some high-end speaker or something like that, and suddenly the beat just came out. It's like, oh my God, this is like there's a very nice pattern happening here, and I completely didn't realize this until a very long time. And I love that, because sometimes you just listen to a song, and in a better speaker or in a better sound system or something like that, and you get all these other layers happening, which you kind of think, which is why I feel that, like, you can never really know a song until you suddenly, because a song always has a way of surprising you. Sometimes you're not old enough for a song. Like sometimes there's this famous theatrical, uh, there's this belief that you can never really play King Lear until you are 60 or over, because you have to have lived through everything that life throws at you in order to embody that character.
Mm.
Of course, I don't. It's a thing that nobody knows whether it's true or not, because otherwise, if a young actor might perfectly be able to do that or whatever. But like that, I feel that there are some songs that like when you listen to a word like Manidan Nimbavan, Deyo Magalam, when you're a kid, those are just words, you know. But when you grow up and you've been through a bit in life, you suddenly, those words become like these shimmering pieces of wisdom. They're not just words put in to fill the tune.
And
They are
his voice seems born for that kind of a song.
yeah. It's so uh, uh, that whole era of songs, this is of course Sumaitangi, but I was like thinking also about Nenjilo Ralayam and songs like that. uh, with Raja and Vairamuthu, that's very, very defining in my growing up, because you got Niralgal, Ninevelam Nitya, that whole the sensuousness, that erotic poetry, Shringara, that Vairamuthu brought out, because of course this might seem a little odd to say today, but Kannadasan's the way Kannadasan wrote about sex was a little with reserve. It's like my favorite
Mm.
line is, I think, I'm trying to think of this. Are you going to edit this, or are you just going to
No,
play it? Like,
It's
This is
okay.
not
It's just this is anyway going live, so don't worry.
okay. So I'm just trying to remember. It's like
You can go uncensored. Don't worry.
no, I'm like not uncensored. I'm taking so much time to think of this that I'm like wasting your time.
No,
It's
it's
just
okay.
like
That's okay.
uh, ah இருவர் துடிப்பினிலே விளைவது மழலையடா ஒருவர் துடிப்பினிலே வருவது கவிதையடா.
Uh-huh.
So it's like when two bodies ride, you get a baby, but when a soul rides, you get poetry. You know, that kind of that acts like, so the tudipu becomes mental agonizing for the poetry and physical thrashing of bodies in the latter sense. So so it's so subtle that you can just like tudipu is hardly a word that you'd use for I mean you really have to think about the words in order to get there, right? uh, that's in that Chinna Chinna Kannanukku, that song. But when you get to Ilayaraja and Vairamuthu, you literally talking about Viyarvai, you're talking about sweat. You know, it's
It gets literal.
like one of my favorite song is that is Alaygal Olvidillai, when you have that உன் வெள்ளி கொலுசொலி கேட்டால் அத்தனை ஜன்னலும் திறக்கும் நீ சிரிக்கும் போது பௌர்ணமி வரும். It's like நீ மல்லிகை பூவை சூடிக்கொண்டால் ரோஜாவுக்கு காய்ச்சல் வரும். It's like you're such a blessed creature that you know you're like other flowers will die of jealousy if burn with jealousy if you choose this one particular flower. And there is there's that heat in Vairamuthu's lyrics. Of course, going by what we know of the man today, you know, I don't want to confuse that with this, but I'm just talking about the pure poetry of the thing. And that was like so amazing because you were getting this very blazingly original kind of word, and it takes something to veer off a path, you know, like like Kannadasan established a path that many people followed until Vairamuthu came along. That path was not broken. So just like Rahman did with Raja, right? It's like they may be Shankar Ganesh, they may be Chandra Bose, they'll all give their hits and all that, but you know, that definitive breaking away, it needs a certain kind of a brain, a certain kind of artistic temperament, and that Vairamuthu had in the early
Yeah.
days. So,
I mean, Akkani Param என்று தெரிந்ததும் அந்த line
yeah,
it also comes alive, you know.
it's like even in there's that lovely like look at that imagination, you know, it's like in Alepaide, in Pache Nirame, that song is like, to how would you describe red, right? It's like Bhumi Todada Pillai in Padam. It's like a child that's just been taken out of the womb and it's not yet touched the ground, you know, that's red. I mean, that's some imagination. It's like you know, and because I'm a words guy, I've always been of course now I think I write a little more sedately than I used to, but I've all of these have gone into my writing, you know, Gulzar, Vairamuthu, all these people have kind of gone into my writing because they were just such blazing pioneers in the way they used words. uh, and yeah, and for me, like I said, circling back to the earlier point, for me, words are inseparable from music. You know, I cannot just have I mean, instrumentals are fine, you know, but I hate it when or if I'm listening to a foreign language song and I don't know the language, that's fine because then the words just become part of the music for me. But when I know the language and the words are substandard, that really becomes a very you know, it's like nobody tried. It just becomes this dead piece of music. So yeah.
Yeah, we are in the last minute there. One last request is for Shantam.
This is really putting me on the spot. I can't even Vellai Pookal, I think. Vellai Pookal Malarade. So it's like Malare Sumbal Murithu Viruhave. It's just kind of it's a lovely thing. It's just so much peace in that song. You know, just like yeah.
Yeah.
And I love it that Rahman sang it, because
Yeah.
yeah, it's so strange that the three great titans of Tamil film music that we've had so far, they've all had these very unusual voices. You know, MSV, Raja, Rahman, none of them sound like trained singers.
Mm.
You know, they're like okay, that's the wrong word to use. What I mean is like there's not a typical polished SPB kind of voice, you know.
Mm.
But man, when they land a song that suits their voice, Jesus, you just think nobody else can sing that. You know, it's like that song should be sung by Rahman and nobody else, because it's like SPB would have made it too nice, too like too pretty, you know.
Mm.
You need that bit of sandpaper in Rahman's voice
Yeah,
to kind of,
it should not be smarmy, once you
yeah, yeah, it
mention
should,
this word. Yeah.
just like that. You should feel that texture, and I
Mm.
think that's beautiful in that thing. So
Yeah, and for us readers, like fans of your writing, your writing always have those, both the velvety bits and the sandpaper bits,
I
which
hope
really.
so. But seriously, thank you so much for this conversation, Venky. Which is like more than you remembering all these things. I think it's just so lovely to talk to somebody that likes, you know, something similar, because these are not conversations that one can easily have with even your friends or your peer groups, because like you're sitting, and that's one of the great benefits of the internet. You know, it's like you don't have to necessarily be around like-minded people all the time. You can also access them from a distance. So this is a wonderful, I don't know what, hour and a half spent,
Yeah.
and thank you so much. And my apologies again for my voice, because had I
No,
known
no,
you were
it was
going to
on
make
one
me
beautiful.
if I had known you were going to make me sing, I would have done some gargling and throat warming and things like that. You know, that's when you know your voice is not there, right? Because your thing wavers, your pitch wavers, and you know that, oh shit, I shouldn't have picked this song today. But anyway, for what it's worth, it's
We
out.
found it very beautiful to
No,
hear,
no,
and
you're just saying that. Thank you very much. We all know what the truth is. But thanks again for this lovely session.
yeah, I'm hoping to do the third one also that we had planned.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we'll do it
yeah,
sometime soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometime
Thanks
looking
so much.
forward to. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much for this
Thank you
time.
so much.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
yeah,
Bye.
take care.